and you say, just, I don't care if it's the phone book, just get me in my room, they're gonna make it something amazing. So it's usually about the people that you wanna work with. And you know, like I said, I cried when I left because I knew, I think it was deeper than just, you know, being nervous and wanting the job. It was knowing I was touching something that was special, and maybe I didn't recognize it was gonna be as big as it was, but I knew it was, if it was touching me in that way, that it would resonate with people on such a level like that, and I wanted to be a part of it, you know? And
what about Frozen? Like when you started Frozen, you couldn't have
well, you're like, I'm in a Disney movie, that's cool, I'm
right,
you know, and I'm gonna be like a princess, or, yeah, I knew that was cool. You don't know it's gonna be one of the top selling ones of all time, or you're gonna have the big songs, but you're just, I mean, you're happy you booked the Disney movie. And I don't, maybe it's because these things you're talking about, they come like in each decade. I had a 20s, a 30s, and now I'm in my 40s. So it's not like I work constantly and I'm always, my confidence is always like boom, boom. There's always a time where I have a moment, I'm like, is this ever gonna happen again? So the older that you get, you go, who knows what's gonna happen with this Frozen thing? I'm just happy to be in it and hanging out with the likes of John Lasseter in the studio, and it's about process, you know? And then you have a kid that puts things in perspective, and you go, you know, it's not all about you, and try to enjoy life. And I think, and the process of this crazy industry that we're in, that we don't have any control over. And I think that all comes full circle with what Rent taught me in the beginning, because when Jonathan passed away, you know, and it was like life imitating art, and this show, and here we are, we're young, and it's becoming this thing much bigger than us, and all of these, I'm forgetting the word, what's the word when you have all these accolades after you pass away?
that word.
What's the word again? Yeah, sorry, thank you so much. And, you know, it was at a time where we could have like lost our perspective, and we're on all the covers of all of these magazines and everything. We're getting up there and singing his music, and all, it's the only thing we could do to give back to him was to just be as completely in the moment and as committed to what he gave us. And so, you know, we all know it's really hard to be in the moment all the time, to be appreciative and grateful for where we are, but it was a really good like imprint in my life to like keep remembering, and when you lose sight of that, or you start complaining about champagne problems and stuff like that, then you go, wait a second, you know, and so I don't know, I just think that all that kind of set a pattern for me.
Such a defining moment. I mean, almost accidentally in your career,
yeah.
The whole Rent experience, and you sort of just answered it, but just in ways that experience informed. Obviously, it put you on the map as an actress, certainly on Broadway. You met people who became important to you in your life during the experience. Just the takeaway, and when you go through an event like that, what starts out as a creative process and then becomes so much more, what do you carry with you from that? In anything, friendships, relationships, career, motivation, anything that sort of stamped on your life?
Everything. Well, I'm lucky that I get to sing the music all the time. When I get on stage, I get to do my concerts and relive it and rediscover the music and try new arrangements, and it's a memory I get to relive on stage and tell that story. I mean, I have these people in my life. I'll see Daphne Rubin Vega in 2 hours from now, and Tay, and you know, it's just I think it's mainly the lesson of appreciating what you have in life, and that life's so fleeting, and that you can be 35 years old and finally get your first show in grants and producers paying for it, and then pass away out of nowhere. And you know, seeing his parents go through that, and them healing through us as their only connection to their son. I mean, all of that there's just you know, and also and knowing how to balance it, knowing he would want us to be enjoying what we were experiencing,
for sure.
You know, and so
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. If Then, your most recent venture into Broadway, which you earned you your third Tony nomination, I might add.
You could have won.
Developed for you very demanding role, playing two different characters. I know people are always interested in how do you actually execute a role like that? I mean, Elphaba was the same way, but playing two characters, Beth and Liz, you're on stage almost the entire show. You're singing song after song. How do you prepare for that? And how on earth do you do that 8 times a week? And not only physically and vocally, but go to that, it was a very emotional play if you saw it. How do you go to that place 8 times a week? It's a very different experience from film, which we'll come to.
Well, first of all, I have help. I have an amazing director that hopefully you always have a great director, but I certainly had one who I got in my first break with him, Michael Greif, and then got to return to him as a more experienced performer. So I felt supported and could trust him, and so I just felt in good hands to take risks and all that kind of stuff. I have a voice teacher I've been working with for over 20 years. We have a very ritualistic, disciplined approach to how I sing and how I prepare for things. It's kind of like an athlete. That's the way I think of it. It's like if you were running the marathon, you wouldn't just get up and run 26 miles, right? So when I know I'm going to go into rehearsal for a show that has a lot of singing, I start like 2 months before. I start singing, at 15 minutes a day, and I start working on the songs with her and looking at the stuff that's high or that seems maybe when you're emotional, you're going to push because it hurts your throat and you're crying and singing at the same time, and so we go through all of that. I look at it like it's like a real project, like a map for me, so that I can technically approach it all and then be free to just be in my body and in the moment later on when it counts. So I do that. A lot of people don't. They can like smoke a joint, get up there and sing. I can't do that. I never could when I was young, and I don't even try that. I do not want to see that. But I'm very jealous of those people that can go out and have a whiskey and then do 8 shows a week. I can't. I have to it's like a muscle for me, and if I haven't been using it, then I'll lose my voice. If I'm singing every day and being healthy about it, so I'll bring my teacher with me. She'll take notes. She'll go, "You're pushing on that," or all these kind of things, and then I get really strong, and I can really go a long time without missing anything. What was the other part of the question?
Well, going 8 times a week, both the physicality of it, but also the emotional journey to go to that place.
It's funny, I was just reading, did you read was it Vanity Fair, the Meryl Streep story with Dustin Hoffman about Plain Rivers Kramer?
I haven't read it yet.
And they were so different, at least from this article, in the way they worked. She was like, I cry, and then I go off the set and I laugh, and he knows her very well. I've met her once. But I was reading, and Dustin Hoffman's like slapping her in the face to get her to cry, and she's like, I don't need that, I can do it, I'm trained, and then I can go off and have fun with the crew, So it's 2 very different, and everybody has their own process. I feel like, especially 8 shows a week, it starts to become muscle memory, and you just, you're in it, you feel all that stuff, and then you get off and you let it go. That's for me. So unfair. It's just a very ordinary saying that we've only used a million times, and now I can't say it ever.
You mentioned earlier, I think it's very well documented, it's all part of your concert, I believe, that you were a wedding singer, basically, in a band in your youth, all through up into college. Anything you learned from that experience in terms of what to do, but not to do, that you still carry with you?
I think the thing about being that kind of singer was spontaneity. Thick skin, knowing people weren't paying any attention and not listening, but using that opportunity to try things, like singing old jazz standards like, Funny Valentine or Our Love Is Here to Stay, any Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, and you guys are eating your salad, and the band takes a break, and the boss says, Idina, stay up with the keyboard player and just play some stuff, and so we try that stuff, and I would emulate those singers I loved, and then try to take it somewhere new that was maybe my own impulse. And So I think it helps me a lot in theater, and I find a lot of my friends actually say, like, how can you do that? Like on a day when I have a cold and I'm not feeling well, I can improvise, I can take the melody somewhere so that I don't have to hit the highest note, and I'm comfortable with it. A lot of people, they have to practice a million times before they change anything, and I'm comfortable with finding a new melody or a new thing to do to keep myself sane and try new things, but also if I have to, you know, which is another process thing with my teacher. I was just telling, your son was asking me about it. Like, if you're not feeling well, right, I give myself an A, a B, and a C show, which means I have, like, you know, if I can't hit the highest, most acrobatic notes because it's that time of month, or I have a cold, or I had a big fight with my ex, you know, whatever it is, I didn't get to sleep because my son, you know, was up all night. I have the B show, which is like a really beautiful version of the show, and maybe doesn't hit the highest thing, but nobody would know, usually because it's original musicals, so they don't know what it is. And my teacher would always say, don't feel like you failed, like, I'm not singing, like, do your best version of that and feel good about that. So it takes the pressure off me, and then I'll always find something new, because as soon as I change a little something in 8 shows a week, it like jars you, and you go into this new cool place emotionally or vocally or whatever. So I really recommend that.
Well, speaking of music, and we're talking about storytelling, among the many careers you have is, of course, a recording career, a concert career, and songwriting career. And I'm curious about that process. For example, writing a song, and how does it enter your head, your mind? How does that collaboration work?
I don't enjoy it that much. I find it, I like to collaborate. I like to be in the room with another great songwriter or producer. I like to give them the kitchen sink. They start playing some music, and I like to sing. I can sing melodies for days. I come up with titles and lyrical ideas, but I'm really not good at making decisions. I don't know, like, was that like a hooky thing? Was it gonna sell tons of records, or is it not? I just want to be with someone that goes, that was awesome. That would, you know, get rid of that. And I also don't like writing all by myself. The idea of like completing the song, you know, it's just too much pressure for me. So I have to say, I'm not, and I've never had a hit song that I wrote, so to be up here and act like I'm this great songwriter, I'd just be a fraud. But I'm good at bringing myself to it and being a good collaborator in the room. And I don't know, I'm working on a new one now, where I did that. I got in the room with all of these wonderful producers and songwriters that extracted a lot of cool stuff out of me, and we'll see what happens. But that's one of those parts of my career that's actually a little bit elusive, you know. For a long time, being a theater person and trying to have a pop career was like, forget about it. I'd walk into a room and people would be like, you're gonna sing like, whoa, like Ethel Merman trying to have a pop album. I'm like, that's not me, you know? And now things have changed. Glee's helped. A lot of like musicals are more accepted and cool, and so it's helping. But you know, Let It Go is like the closest I've come, and it has a bridge with little lyric frozen fractals. Not a very pop, current, contemporary sounding, you know. So when I heard that on the radio, I was like, what? This breaks all rules that anybody ever said I could ever do. So I stopped chasing and trying to figure out what's the right pop sound, and now I just get in the room and I do it. And if I hit it this time, fine. If not, I wrote a bunch of songs that really mean something to me and that I'll enjoy singing on stage.
That's really interesting, because one of the challenges of being so multi-talented is there isn't a particular niche to put you in. Sometimes it's easier when you do a certain thing a certain way, and certainly vocally you run the gamut from legit to pop.
I think that's my gift and curse. That my versatility has always made it difficult for producers and people to figure out. So, you know, I'll go with one producer and they'll go like, I love this low end sexy alto part of your voice on the mic, and we'll do this whole thing, and then it's like, you didn't use your money notes, and that's what people want to hear. And then the record label goes, that sucks. And then I go in and I try to do something with money notes, and then the people are like, oh, you sound like you're showing off. Be intimate. You know, tell a story. You know, so I went through that. I still go through that. The only good thing about it now is that I've cultivated a live career, performance career, where I can get on stage, and there's not that much cohesion. There's like, you know, I got Broadway shows and pop music and things, and I do an Ethel Merman medley, and then I sing something from Rent, and then I do Creep, Radiohead, and I stopped worrying about it all making sense. It's like, these are all who I am and different sides